You're listening to the Expired Podcast by Macy Bookout and Natalie Gard, Chattanooga's first crime cast.
Don't touch it. Oh, that's why I'm going to do the puzzle.
Yeah.
So don't touch my hair.
Okay.
But
just ask me questions and...
If I get too distracted by it or too irritated with it, I'm going to quit.
Okay. It'll be okay. All right.
I'm such an old person.
You are. You're an old soul.
I am.
Pencil
puzzles.
You're old. You're a mom. You have like 3 people.
That's why I'm old. They age
Holy
you, man.
shit.
They age you. I've had to keep 3 human beings alive. Grow them, keep them alive.
We're not that far apart. How old are you?
I'll be 32, but I feel like
You're
42.
16? Oh.
Yeah.
See, I'm 27 and I feel like I'm 17.
Yeah.
I have no responsibilities.
I stopped feeling 17 when I was 17.
Yeah. That's how it goes, right?
Okay, I can already tell you this is a terrible idea.
That's a terrible. Look. This is one piece.
You should see the really hard ones I do at home where the puzzle pieces aren't shaped like puzzle pieces.
No.
Yeah.
Why?
I'll send you a
Why did you even get that?
I wanted so last weekend the boys were in Kingsport because Matt was on the Team Tennessee National Wrestling team for the elementary duels, and me and Jade I coach our softball team. We had a tournament, and on the way home we stopped for dinner, and I was like, "Do you want to go to Dave and Buster's?" And she was like, "Yeah." So we went and got a bunch of tickets, and I got this. I was like, "Can I borrow 600 tickets for this puzzle?" Because I love puzzles.
Oh my God.
So it's my miniature 150-piece Dave and Buster's puzzle.
Okay.
But I can't multitask.
You do that.
I can't. I did take my medicine
scribble
today.
and you do that.
I'm still going to do this too. We'll find out.
Let's take you back to July of 1999. How old are you then?
I would have been 7. Literally a week or 2 away from turning 8.
Okay, I would have been 4. Just turned 4.
Man, it's crazy how long ago that was because it doesn't seem like it was that long ago.
I know. 1999. It was the summer. It was July. It was softball season.
It was softball season. No,
I love it.
These 2 girls, Chelsie, who was 13, and Jessica, who was 10, they had just gotten done with a softball tournament, and Jessica's birthday was coming up, but Chelsie wasn't going to be able to make it.
Right.
So
they were like,
I remember doing this. Yeah, like,
I
can
do
we have
too.
a sleepover? She's not going to come to my party. She can't come, so can we do it tonight? Yeah. Please. We'll clean my room. We'll do all the things.
Were you a sleepover house, or were you the one to go sleepover?
No, my house was the sleepover house.
Mine
for
was
sure.
too.
And I loved that.
I think it was because I had older parents. They were always like, and it was just me. I was an only child, so it was like the go-to for cool sleepovers.
I think for me, it was kind of the opposite. Like my parents, they were teen parents, so they were young, but like we had a pool, and they were more like, we had dirt bikes and go-karts.
You were your parents were the cool parents.
Yeah, like they would actually like do stuff with us.
Yeah.
Not just like send us to the room and ignore us kind of thing. But yeah, definitely. I feel like my whole life, literally up until I got pregnant with Bentley, and even then when I was pregnant with him, kids were at my house all the time.
Yeah.
Constantly. But I have to say this. Everything that I read on this case, all the things I found, everything I heard, watched, listened to, I kept thinking like, wait, Chelsea's 13, Jessica's 10, but soon to be 11. I'm like, that's kind of an age gap for girls. Like, that's interesting. And then the more that I learned they played softball, and my first thought was, Jessica was a hell of a softball player, because that means she would have been playing up in age. And I did that growing up, because I was like, I had friends like A, B, and C who were a couple years older than me.
Yeah.
That I would go to their house, they would come to my house, whatever. So She was a good softball player.
Yeah, she was. So, on July 29th of 1999, they had a softball tournament, and, Chelsea's mom was there, Jessica's mom was there. They were, supporting their daughters in this softball tournament. This is in McMinnville, Tennessee. The population is about 1,300.
Very small.
Small. McMinnville is known as the nursery capital of the U.S.
Yeah. I did not know that.
They grow up different plants and horticulture and all that.
Did you know that before this?
No.
I had no clue.
And it's like so close to here.
Yeah, it's right down the road, really.
No idea.
Me either.
So, Chelsea's mom says, okay, I guess you can, go stay the night with your friend since, we're going to be out of town for her birthday party. And
the moms knew each other too growing up.
Since they were 10 years old, they knew each other. They had, grown up in this small town together. Mm-hmm. So she felt secure.
Comfortable.
Yeah. In letting her daughter go. So on July 30th of 1999 at 6 a.m., the McMinnville Fire Department is called to Myers Lane. This is a fire that the neighbors of Myers Lane had seen.
Yeah.
And, it's early morning hours, and they're just trying to get to the scene and figure out what's going on. They don't know who's there, what has happened, any of that.
Yeah, I think from everything they knew until they got there and extinguished the fire, it was just like a small house fire.
Right.
Nothing.
Very small.
Probably nothing. Besides obviously it being a fire, nothing was really raising flags.
Right. So this firefighter is freshly out of the school academy. Yeah, and he's the first one on the scene. So
it's his first ever fire.
Yeah,
ever.
It's wild. And so he figures out where the most significant part of the fire is, which is in the master or the primary bedroom, which is where Diane is. Mm-hmm. Diane Watts was a person of the community. She was a mom. She had a young daughter named Jessica, and this is where Jessica and Chelsie come in. Mm-hmm. They were staying the night with Diane, who's friends with Chelsea's mom.
Yep.
Just small town, it just seems...
Everybody knows everybody. Yeah.
Exactly. So the fire department is called, and this firefighter, who's freshly out of his classes, carries all of these bodies out of this house. It was a very contained fire. Mm-hmm. Whether that was, bad arson or the house is really, really old.
It was well built.
Yes, it took longer to ignite, or it would put itself out because of all of the dense wood.
Yeah, if you think about it in today's construction, they use, I hate to say it, but cheaper wood. Mm-hmm. And there's more space for insulation, aka for air. So if you don't know, I feel like everybody should know that oxygen actually feeds a fire. Mm-hmm. So in house fires today, they spread quicker, bigger, hotter, quicker, all the things faster because air can get through. Whereas this house was so old, the wood, there's not enough space. So wherever the fire starts, it kind of stayed there, and it can't really grow, and then it ultimately suffocates because there's no air circulation coming through.
Right. We've heard reports that Diane's body and her daughter's body were found in the master or the primary, but we've also heard reports that Diane's body was found in the primary, and then Jessica and Chelsea's body was found in her room
together. Yeah.
Right. And speaking of the fire being contained to one room, there was a ton of evidence left in the house.
Yeah.
Their bodies being one of them. They were all bloodied and bruised, and something had happened to...
Not just a fire.
Not just a fire.
Right.
There was blood everywhere, especially in the kitchen. And that is when they started looking for any kind of evidence. They found a baseball bat by the front door. They also found a torque wrench in the house that was later aligned to the two children in the house, the torque wrench, and the bat was more found with DNA from Diane.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild. I mean,
I just keep like going back to like when you hear it being recalled like by the firefighter and then like the detective. It's like you could just tell by the tone in their voice how it changes, the look on their face, the speed at which they're talking.
mm-hmm.
It's been a number of years since, and they still have a very hard time just laying the facts out.
Right.
And like what they witnessed.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine it being like your first call for a fire. A young man, first call for a fire. And that's
What you
walk into.
Yeah.
And he even had taken one of the girls' bodies outside because he's like, you're taught to get anybody out
that could be saved.
And he's like, the whole time I was thinking, please just let there be a chance. Just let there be a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would be terrifying.
I know.
Ugh.
And in the early morning hours of this case, more and more people were learning about what had happened and, get to the scene, like especially family members and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So Diane's sister, Vicky, she's a big participant in this case. She's
able to provide a lot of information.
She is. She really is. She was Diane's younger sister, like a best friend. And she arrives on the scene shortly after, TBI or FBI, Tennessee police arrive on the scene. And they've kind of figured out what has happened. So, they pretty much are like, whoa, you can't come in. And Vicky's like, wait, this is my sister and niece's house. I need to figure out if they're okay.
Yeah, where are they?
And immediately they're like, can you identify the bodies? Could you imagine like going to your sibling's house and being like, I heard there was a fire here, and then all of a sudden, can you identify bodies?
I hate to say it, but I swear, like, I only have one sibling, my brother, and I would want to fight somebody.
Yeah.
I would be like, who the F do you think you are asking me that when I have yet to even be given a chance to find my family?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would be livid.
Yeah.
So angry.
I think I would be too. And then just be smacked in the face with, can you identify these bodies?
Yeah.
And the bodies are almost burnt beyond recognition.
And if they're not, the ones that didn't have that or sustain like that much of the burning, they were beat to death. Like,
they're still your family.
Right. And it was really sad hearing her talk about how she was like, yeah, but that means they're dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, they also, I felt like they didn't, I hated hearing her say, no one warned me or told me, like, or she said, I didn't realize that they were going to be unrecognizable because of all the damage that was done. So it's like she had to like see all that when they probably should have not done that.
This was 1999. This was McMinnville, and
small town.
They probably had never dealt with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, truth be told, I don't. Not that murder doesn't exist, but like that kind of gruesome
3 homicides with fire and
2 children.
Yeah,
they probably were not well versed whatsoever.
Not at all. So the investigation begins. They look at people close to Diane, close to the girls, who Diane's, father was, or not who Diane's father was, who
Jessica's?
Yes,
Yeah.
father was, if Diane was dating anyone,
She had
if anyone
enemies,
was, friends, family, whatever.
She had been fighting with somebody.
Right. Diane's husband, the father of
Jessica,
the
10-year-old.
Right, had passed away. He had passed away in a car accident, and
she was like devastated by that too, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was.
Because they were still married and together and stuff.
And her last name was still
his last name. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Golly.
I know. So she was just, a single mom raising her daughter when she runs into her old neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Doug Myers, and it's no coincidence that Diane died on Myers
Lane.
Exactly. The name Myers was named after this road, and Doug Myers was, his ancestors were named after this road. And after Jessica's father died, Doug stepped in and was like, I've always liked you. We've grown up together. We grew up together.
Yeah, like I kind of have a crush on
each
you.
other. Like, I have young kids. I need a mother for my young kids.
Yeah.
You have a young daughter. This should be perfect. And
let's
so
try this out.
They started dating.
Mm-hmm. And everyone was like
for it.
Yeah, because again, small town, but I think just throughout both of their families, they had, correct me if I'm wrong, but they had like a lot of different like connections as far as the families go.
Mm-hmm.
So like siblings, new siblings, and cousins, new cousins,
Mm-hmm.
and parents, new parents, and
Yep.
both of their families had been in the area for centuries.
Yeah.
Like from the beginning of the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like she started dating a guy and nobody knew who he was or knew his family. Like they knew each other and their families knew each other fairly well.
Yeah. And so it seemed like a match made in heaven, Diane
Mm-hmm.
and Doug grew up together. They, both had younger daughters. It just seemed perfect.
Yeah.
And their family and friends, everyone on both sides thought so.
Really,
seemed,
really supported the relationship.
Right. The Myers family obviously had some wealth. They owned a lot of property in town. They were also known to be loggers. Like, they owned a lot of property, but they also, would cut down trees, and logging was a big part of...
Logging is still a big business. They were wealthy,
Mm-hmm.
to say the least, but not in a way that most people would think, like, old Southern family, old Southern money. Like, they're gonna be the ones with the big house and driving the
Not snooty.
BMW or the Range Rover, and like the only one in town with a designer bag. They were not. They didn't spend their money that way. It almost like they didn't really give a shit that they had money.
Mm-mm. It seemed that way.
And truth be told, I feel like when it's that kind of Southern town, that's usually how it goes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does.
People don't spend their money on things.
Yeah, it's more...
They spend their money to make more money.
Yeah, yeah.
And like tobacco.
Mm-hmm. It seems like that.
Yeah.
I do want to mention the day before this fire, Vicky, who is Diane's sister, was at her house and just hanging out, and she gets a call from Doug's mom, Clementine. And
Listen, I'm sorry. This freaking name, y'all.
Clementine Myers.
What's even better is like everything you read or hear or listen to or watch, you get Clementine, you get Clementine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she sounds like a storybook character. Turns out to be a storybook character.
Mm-hmm. She's like the evil stepmother or something.
Oh, she's just evil.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she ain't even gotta be stepmom.
And she's like the matriarch of this area. She's the oldest. She owns the most. She...
Correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't clementines like the smaller, sweeter oranges?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's the opposite.
Yeah.
She's like
larger,
the big boss.
Sour.
Yeah,
oranges.
not nice. Kind of scary. Might be poisonous.
Mm-hmm. And the day before that all of this happened, Diane gets a call at her house, and her sister Vicky is there and says, you know, listen to this phone call. I'm going to put it on speaker, and it's Clementine. And Clementine says, I can make anyone disappear for $5,000
Yeah.
in this small town.
Mm-hmm.
She owns
very
a lot of property,
powerful.
like very, very.
I think it was said a few times in reports and things that like her and that family, like the Myers family, kind of like owned McMinnville. McMinnville.
McMinnville. I know, I've heard so many reports. I'm like, that's not how I say McMinnville, but...
Listen, if I'm around a certain part of my family, it's McMinnville.
You're the expert.
It's a vole, not a ville.
McMinnville.
As little effort as possible.
Mm-hmm. So, police are continuing to go on, you know, the suspects, the people that are closest to the family, and the 3 victims. So they come up with Doug, who is Diane's boyfriend, living there, sort of on and off, had, you know, custody of his young daughter, which was the same age as Jessica. And he's there a lot. He really seems to love Diane and support her and be there for her and her daughter.
Yep.
But he is obviously a suspect because he's one of the closest people to her. There's also Doug's brother, who is Gary, and Doug's mother, Clementine. But then there is this rando named Johnny Lewis, and he goes by John Boy. John Boy is such like a...
Why is
name.
Johnny, like, and everybody that is named Johnny, or like nicknamed Johnny, they always go to John Boy too. But
so bad.
They are. They really, really are. Why is that?
I don't know.
Like,
Never
even
named
you,
your kid John.
even you know
I
that.
know someone
Like,
named Johnny
I
who
know
is bad.
I know a lot of Johnnies.
Bad.
Old, new, aged, young. They're all bad news. Johnny's, John Boy.
Johnny's not good.
No, Johnny's never been a good dude.
Mm-mm.
We need to like stop that
name.
That curse.
Yeah. So Johnny Lewis, John Boy, he had started dating this woman named Shirley Humphrey. Now, as he's starting to date
Shirley, Clementine, Johnny. I feel like I'm at a family reunion.
You are. You are. This is in McMinnville.
My family don't do crazy stuff like this, though.
So Johnny starts dating this girl, Shirley. And Shirley is actually Doug's ex-wife.
Yeah. Johnny lives with her.
Doug and Johnny are BFFs currently. They're stealing tractors, farm equipment.
They're dealing farm equipment. That means they get stuff hot.
Yep.
They sell it hot
Mm-hmm.
quicker than they can get caught.
Yep.
They're hot farm equipment dealers. That's what they are.
It's wild.
Yeah. No, it's nuts.
Can you imagine being like best friends with your ex's current love affair?
No.
No.
Like, okay, so he is dating Diane, who was a victim in this case.
Mm-hmm.
She does not like John Boy
Mm-hmm.
or the shenanigans they are getting into together as far as Doug and Johnny go.
Right.
But all the while, John Boy is living with Miss Shirley, who is still married to Doug.
Right.
And I also am so curious, for Doug to come, and Clementine is his mom, for them to be so wealthy, why are you having to, like, get hot farm equipment and deal it, and steal it, and deal it and steal it? Like, Your family has enough money. I'm very confused.
I don't know. Unless it was like the thrill of stealing.
It had to have been, right?
Right. I mean, he had money. He was well off.
He was fine,
lived
yeah.
with his girlfriend. Like, it wasn't... I don't know.
And his best friend was living with his ex-wife. Well, his estranged wife.
Yeah,
they were
exactly.
Still married.
So his estranged wife, Shirley, about 3 months after this fire at Diane's house, she was seen... Okay, so Shirley had like a little corner market. Like run-down, you don't know how it's still in business, corner market. And she...
It's the place you don't stop at on a road trip.
Exactly. She and John Boy lived above this market, and she worked there during the day. And about 3 months after this fire at Diane's house, someone called and said there's a fire behind Shirley's market. And when they got there, it was like all this random clothing and things that John Boy Lewis had said, please burn.
Mm-hmm.
They were never able to directly
relate,
or relate
what was burned,
right?
But they were able to say though that it was like clothes
Mm-hmm.
and shoes and things like that, but they couldn't relate it like, oh, he was wearing this and this was his and it was worn for this, like nothing like that.
It's not random wood. It's not random, garbage or whatever.
But it is weird to just
specific.
randomly just burn some clothes and stuff behind a building, like just throw it away.
Yeah, there's other ways to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So like we said, the family of Clementine Myers and the family of Diane Watts, they were closely connected. We said that Vicky, came to the scene when she realized her sister's house was on fire. And what I thought was really interesting was, they grew up next door to each other. And Vicky was hired by Miss Clementine at 13 years old to drive her from bar to bar, liquor store to liquor store in McMinnville.
Because she was drunk.
Because she was too drunk to drive.
And did you mention that Vicky was 13?
13.
13 years old.
13.
It reminds me of like when our parents could like walk home from school and like grab their parents a pack of cigarettes at the market on their way before they got home.
Mm-hmm.
When it was like no problem.
Yeah.
Or
It
like
seems
they would
like
have
that.
like a handwritten note.
Mm-hmm. I've done that. Have you ever bought cigarettes for someone else who smoked and you were underage? I definitely have.
I feel like I did, but not.
It wasn't a big deal though.
No, but I do remember being like scared to death. Like,
I do too.
these aren't for me. Like, I promise I'm not smoking these. You can call my dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like that too.
Yeah.
So, this happens. Vicky does reveal later, after she finds her sister and, all this tragedy happens, that she was the 13-year-old chauffeur for Miss Clementine Myers, and she does recall a very odd
encounter.
Or
experience, I guess.
she had driven Miss Clementine around to different bars, and she stopped at this store for a 6-pack. Clementine was like, I need to stop, whatever, then we'll go home. And when she comes back to the vehicle where Vicky, the 13-year-old, is driving.
Still driving.
She goes, what is all over you? She's wearing a white shirt and it's got blood, and she has a knife with blood, and she was just like, I just shanked a girl in there.
She literally cut her in the gut, like sliced her gut open and just left her there.
So that kind of speaks volumes.
Were you also curious, like, hold on, doesn't that make Vicky, like, guilty of aiding and abetting?
She was 13 though.
Right.
So it's like,
that's just crazy though. Could you imagine? I would be scared of that person for the rest of my life.
yeah. And I feel like a lot of people in this town were.
Definitely.
She had.
They honestly had every right to be.
Yeah.
They should have been scared of her.
Yes.
She's gnarly.
Yeah, I know. It's just wild.
Weird.
It's wild and weird and.
Yep. Yeah.
So we get the evidence and the info from McMinnville PD, and just, you know, the only thing really out of ordinary was the bat and the torque wrench, and they both had those. Like, the bat had Diane's DNA, and the torque wrench had the girl's DNA, and so they pretty much convict the few people that are closest to Diane. Like,
yeah. At first, I think they definitely looked into Doug, her boyfriend, but the family was like, he wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
We've known him for years. We know his family. Like, he loved that girl. He loved
Jessica.
Her daughter.
Yeah.
No. Then,
and I kind of feel that way.
I do a little bit, but I think influence and fear, I think it was, in his mind, it was probably more about, like, I know what's good for me, and I'm for dang sure not going to go against my mama, you know? But, and he even had, like, somewhat of an alibi.
Right.
So for a while, they kind of looked at him, questioned him, and they were like, yeah, there's nothing really here. It's fine. We'll move on. But then people started to talk, rumors. And then I think they had a solid handful of people they were really looking into. And the two people who had the least amount to do with it, but still had something to do with it, they were also the people that had, like, the most information, and they talked.
Which was Doug's brother.
Yeah.
He was a huge witness.
And old Shirley.
Yeah.
So, I guess we'll go to motive, really. The motive was that Diane, obviously her and Doug had a good relationship, or so we thought, she thought.
Her family. Friends.
Everyone thought, yeah. But because he was, you know, stealing farm equipment and selling it and all the things, with John Boy, she was not about that life and did not like it. So allegedly she had mentioned that, like, she was going to call the cops on John Boy.
Right.
And
she
tell
made
on
her
him.
Mind up that she was gonna, okay, I'm gonna tell on John Boy. Hopefully that will get Gary out of this
situation, yeah.
And everything will go
like,
back
he'll
to
get in trouble. John Boy will have to go to jail. Doug will be fine. And we can be together and it'll be all cool. But Clementine got word of this.
Yes, Clementine got word of this.
Oh, Clementine.
Good old Clem. She found out that, you know, her son and John Boy had been doing, you know, this negative thing, and that her other son, Gary, had also been involved in, like, either trying to cover it or whatever. And she was like, if Diane squeals, this is all over for
this
my
is
family.
bad. Yeah.
This is not good.
Bad news bears.
Yes. So what she does is go after the weakest link, in my opinion, is John Lewis, and is like, hey, I'm going to pay you $5,000. I'll give you gas money
to
if
kill
you'll
her.
Just get rid of.
Yeah, make her shut up.
Little does...
Instead of being like, hey, son, maybe don't be a thief.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, you know, that would make too much sense.
Change everything.
Oh, people.
So...
As my dad always says, there's nothing that a new set of parents can't fix.
Yeah. Really.
But seriously, she thought, let's just kill this girl instead of telling her son to stop being an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, son, we have money. You don't need to do this.
Exactly. So I kind of think that, I feel like Doug had smaller to do with it than the main John Boy. Like, I feel like he had, I don't know. When you look at, like, the autopsy and all that. So Diane was beaten, bloodied, and set on fire. The two girls, Chelsie and Jessica, were beaten, but Chelsie, the 13-year-old who is staying the night with Jessica, who's 10, you know, probably shouldn't even be there, is beaten way worse than Jessica.
I do think that has to do with the age. Yeah. Like, I do think because you know yourself, like, there's a big difference in being 10 and 11 and 13 and 14.
You have more fight in you.
Yeah, and more just grit, like just more of a dog. And puberty happens, so you automatically, if this is a newsflash to anyone, but she's probably already been catcalled or touched, or because it happens, unfortunately, to everyone.
Yeah.
All females.
Yeah.
Newsflash for anybody that's not a female. Or people that think it doesn't happen.
In this area.
Because it definitely does.
100% does.
As soon as puberty hits, it happens. So you do kind of develop that dog that, like, no, I'll die before you go mess with me type of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like she probably required more force.
And
honestly.
at 13, you're more likely to fight back than you are at 10.
Definitely. Because
I could
of
see
that.
myself fighting back at 13. At 10, I would have been scared. I would have been more flight than fight.
Yeah, and I think even bigger than that, I think at 10, you don't necessarily know your surroundings and, like, look for certain things and expect certain things, whereas at 13, you kind of already have your head on a half a swivel. You know, like, you're already, red flags are popping up,
especially
energies switching, things aren't feeling right, so you're already like, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
Buckle up.
Yeah.
You know, get ready. Whereas at 10, you're still a kid. Like, you're still just very
naive.
The world can't be that bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's probably where, you know, Jessica's injuries versus Chelsea's injuries came involved. I really feel bad for Chelsea's mom. You know, she, you know, her name is Melanie. She just really just wanted her kid to go, like, have a good sleepover, and it ended up in the worst
possible way.
Possible.
Terrible. Just terrible. I hate it.
So let's go over the charges, because we had mentioned many people when it comes to charges.
There were many people.
There were at least 3 or 4 people that were charged with this.
Well, there were 4. There could have been 5, but I think the 5th one, rightfully so, was not charged because of all the information.
Right. So it was Doug, the boyfriend of Diane, John Boy, who's the best friend. They thought that John Boy did the most. Then it was Gary, who is Doug's brother. And then there was also Clementine, who is Doug and Gary's mother, who they think that kind of headed the whole thing. Like, I'll
get rid of her,
get rid of...
Approach John Boy about it.
Yeah.
See, and I think you and I are on different sides of this. Like, you think Doug did way less and stuff. I don't necessarily believe that. I think when he got around, you know, John Boy and his mom, and it had to be done, I don't think it was out of pure evil, like it was for John Boy or Clementine. But I think it was like, I can't go against my mom because they'll kill me. Because my mom, they're going to kill her anyways.
Yeah.
And if I don't go with it, then they're going to kill me too. Because I know that they're doing this.
Yeah.
But I still think that when push came to shove, he didn't just stand by and assist. I think he did do
maybe that's
some
just
of it.
Like my kind heart who thinks like, oh, he couldn't have done it. Like, he loved them. I'm such a softie. You're way more hard. In a good way. Like, you can call the bullshit and I cannot. Like, I can't say no to people. I can't, like... Oh, so all of these people are put on trial, and I'm glad to announce Doug Meyer, he got life. He is still in a Tennessee prison today.
3 life sentences, no parole.
Right. Yes. No parole. John Lewis, he got 65 years. And this is like 10 years after the murder, so he's obviously still there. Gary Myers, who is Doug's brother, he gave Doug his alibi, but then he also flipped on Doug and his mother. And he said...
He actually testified against his mom.
Which is huge. I mean, could you imagine?
Could you imagine that if Doug could have stood up to his mother the way Gary did, people wouldn't be dead?
Exactly.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
Who would have thought?
So he only got about 2 years and he's out and hopefully reformed and...
knows not to be a monster.
Yeah. Their mom, Clementine, she did have some involvement. She was, she scared Diane the day before for like, you're going to tell my boys it takes $5,000 to get rid of someone in this town.
Yep.
Clementine supposedly paid John Boy to kill them. She got criminal negligent homicide and she got 2 years. But Clementine is dead as of right now, today.
I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall with that talk she had to have with Jesus.
I know.
Sucks to suck.
Sucks to suck.
I don't mean to laugh, but like she's a monster.
I know. And I feel like the medical examiner of this case screwed the fuck up.
You do?
Yes, because so the first medical examiner.
Oh, you're serious. You said the F word.
Yeah, I did. Is Dr. Charles Harlem. And Charles was found for like mispractice.
Malpractice.
And when they looked at his home in his laundry room,
Y'all.
he had body parts in jars.
Y'all.
In his laundry room.
Y'all.
The person who filled his shoes wasn't much better.
No, but much better than...
Much better, but...
Still broke the rules, but broke the rules in like a humane way.
Yeah.
You know, like not
body parts in his laundry
Netflix
room.
Documentary way.
But like pot off dead bodies kind of way. Which is better, body parts in your laundry room or pot off of dead bodies? That
Was
you're
it off
smoking?
Was it off bodies or was it off like from crime scenes?
Well, it was in evidence bags when they found it. So you decide. I feel like
no one's gonna go to McMinnville after this.
the first one is definitely worse. Like who?
But they're both freaking weird.
It is.
I don't smoke pot, but I can tell you if I did smoke pot, I for damn sure ain't smoking pot off
From
dead
a
bodies.
dead body. You don't know what's in that?
No. No. There is.
And you're not going to have parts of your victims in freaking jars above your freaking washer and dryer.
Yeah, like that's where you're supposed to clean things.
I don't know. Medical exam.
I wonder if he was like trying to sell them to like universities for science or something.
Or maybe he was just keeping them for his
like a
scientific,
souvenir.
like twisted.
Either way, it's all messed up.
Yeah.
It's not normal. It's not okay. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Freaks me out.
It's weird. It's so weird. So at least we know that the people that were involved in this, they are at least in jail and
will be there
for a while
till they
they die, like Clementine.
Yeah, go anywhere else. Thank goodness. Man,
if you were in McMinnville or even now to this day, and you happen to see either green, blue, or purple ribbons, like almost like 9/11 yellow ribbons, especially in the summertime, those are for this case, you know?
They're like tribute, memorial things that they've been doing for ever or since this happened. The green, they're based on the favorite colors of the victims. So the green is for Chelsie,
right,
and the purple's for Jessica, and the blue is for Diane.
And you would see these ribbons
everywhere.
If you were in that area the summer of '99, even after that.
The bridges, the light poles,
the police
traffic
cars,
signs.
Everything was covered in this
ribbons,
green, blue, and purple. And
that would be so pretty.
It would be.
I think that's really
such
a nice gesture.
It is a nice gesture. And it was a way for the family to be like, this case is still relevant. This case is still ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
Please look into it. If you don't know what the green, purple, or blue ribbons are, please look into it. Like, I feel like that's something that, like, my family or friends would do if
it would be pink.
it happened to me. It would
A show. Pink, blue, purple.
Yeah, it would be pink. My front door is
leopard
pink.
print.
Yes, pink, leopard print, flamingo, like.
I will say, too, I think I've really, really, really admired the detectives
Mm-hmm.
and the district attorney,
Mm-hmm.
like the prosecutor, and who was it? Was he a police? The Potter?
Yeah, the detective
They
on the case. They were
hit
so.
Derwin. What was it? Adley?
I don't remember their names exactly, but I remember them being so on point and just very, like, articulate with what they were going to go through and who they were going to look at, and just the police and all the
They
people.
literally never quit.
They nailed it.
Yeah, they did.
They
They
nailed
never. And you know, in a small town, it's really hard for.
Because they've never dealt with it.
Well, and rumors and stuff. You
Yeah.
know, like you don't. It's
You
like
don't know
here, say this.
exactly.
Like you, a lot of times in towns like that, and even in big cities, like
Mhm.
it's hard to know. Like, is it a waste of time to just
Mhm.
Derwin Adcock? That was his name.
I always heard
He
that
was-
he was like, for every one good tip, there's 20 bad.
Yes.
And he would
Yes.
check out
Every single one of them. Even people that worked with him said, like, for the first week, they, like, no one thought, like, he didn't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
24/7.
Work, eat, use the bathroom,
Work,
again.
eat, use the bathroom constantly for, like, the first week or two of this. But I really, given the minimal resources that they had,
Huge applause.
having to follow up on that many rumors and tips and stories and this and that, and like having to make sure that when you rush something, it's getting done.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've covered cases where people have 1,000 times the resources and the money and the manpower, and don't
Do anything.
yeah. don't utilize a tenth of it, you
Mhm.
know? So I do have to say I was very impressed.
Yeah.
And also, how good did they have to be at their job, and how comfortable did they have to make, say, like Shirley
Mm-hmm.
and Gary
Yeah, to let
to
them
come
open
forward?
up. Mhm.
Yeah, like A+. A+,
Top-notch.
y'all.
Yeah.
Great work.
Yeah, it gives me a lot of faith in McMinnville and small towns, you know? It's
Yup.
like 13,000 population. Like,
Yep.
you know, if that can be accomplished in such a small town, if it ever happened to me in a bigger town, I feel like, you know, it could be quicker. And
Yeah.
my family wouldn't have to suffer.
That's just good
so
detective work.
It's way good. It's amazing.
And I kind of want to end it on, like, I'm not one to, like, push religion or, like, spiritual beliefs or whatever, but I liked that their local paper wrote the story, like, once they found out that it actually was a homicide and were reporting all those things, they wrote the story up with the thoughts and beliefs that, like, the spirits from the victims were so pure that that's part of why the fire, like, put itself out, because there's no one could explain that.
Mm-hmm.
Even with how the home was built and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you could say that's what it was, but, like, there's no evidence that that's
Right.
exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And based on how much accelerant was used,
Yeah.
it really shouldn't have been possible.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really cool that they were like, their spirits, that was just their spirits' way of being like, you're not going
No.
to get away with this.
Yeah.
So their spirits, like, put the fire out so that there would still be all the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
I have chills, like, talking about it. I think that's so cool. And, like, I believe in that kind of stuff. So
I do too.
I'm, like,
I do
strong
too.
for, like,
And even when people, like, pass and go on, you know, maybe it's your family or your friends or even, like, your friend's family, I feel like
or
they
your dog.
a dog,
Yeah.
like anybody who passes or you feel a loss for, you can still feel their energy.
Definitely. You
That
just
makes
have to
me
pay
feel
attention.
so calm and relieved and
Yeah.
it's okay that they're gone.
Because they're okay.
Because they're okay.
Yeah.
And they're showing me that their spirit is still alive. You know?
They're still with you.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Okay, you have like 5 pieces of that puzzle together, so.
Well, I have the corner pieces and I have the middle put together, but now I have to figure out what the actual puzzle is supposed to be. Oh, it's just the Dave & Buster's logo.
Come on.
I thought it was going to be cool.
It's not. It's the Dave & Buster's prize.
That's dumb.
All right. Until next time, we're the Expired Podcast.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. We're the Expired Podcast, out every Monday at 6.